Hi everyone, welcome to Artrageous Live as we turn isolation into inspiration. And we have a chat about sound and the world of engineering. So I'm really excited to do this interview today. It's kind of our first foray into the interviewing process, and I sure hope we're getting this right, Dave. So now I'll introduce you to Dave McRae. He is the owner, producer, and engineer of Third Eye Studio in Tijeras, New Mexico, for those of you who don't know. Now, Dave's actually right next door to me, so it's kind of strange to be talking to you like this, but such is the way of life today.
Exactly.
Yeah. So one thing I love about Dave is how easy you make the process of recording someone. So you're always so relaxed and you make me feel really comfortable when I'm in that space because I'm usually just a nervous Nelly in there. So thanks for joining us and thanks for being so comfortable and warming when we're in the studio recording space.
My pleasure.
So would you like to take a tour of the studio first?
Yeah, we might as well just start off with that. I'll just do a quick little run through everything here, and so I'll wave to Facebook land, and I'll wave this way to wave to Lori since she's over there.
Perfect.
So let's see. Let me turn this around here. So I am. Hang on. There we go. So I am currently sitting in the control room of the studio. And let me back up here. Actually, we'll do it this way. So this is the control room, basically where I generally live during recording sessions and such. Our little monitoring station with the speakers and stuff, and then we have our little control module for Pro Tools, which is Pro Tools is what's up on the screen right now. That's our digital audio workstation is the official name for it, but it's basically our digital tape machine is what we record sounds to in Pro Tools. And then this little controller basically interfaces with Pro Tools and allows us to, just adjust levels and do all kinds of cool stuff like that. And then on the wall here, we have all kinds of equipment in our racks. Without getting super in depth of what everything does, there's equalizers, there's some compressors. These are some effects units, like reverbs and delays and stuff like that, which we add in post-production. Then we have more compressors. We have our microphone preamps, which basically a microphone is put on some kind of a source, be it a voice, as we've done with Lori before, or guitars and stuff like that. And then those come into microphone preamps, which gets those up to an audio level that's more agreeable to use and stuff. So, but anyway, so that's just a little cursory view. And then let me just do the run throughout the door here and then around into the live room here, which is where the band will be during recording. And so this is one part of the live room with it has some pretty tall ceilings, which is nice. You probably can, I don't know how good the audio quality is, but you can probably hear maybe my voice sounds a little differently in here than it did in the other space. So, and then just the other part of the live room with our drum kit set up currently. I have a session this weekend, so I've got things set up there. Walk around the back here.
We're losing you a little bit.
A a drum miking setup here, drum kit, and then you hear me okay now?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
All right, cool.
You might have just
I'll
gotten too deep in.
too far, I think. Yeah. So, but anyway, hopefully that didn't cut out too bad. But as I was saying, just a lot of microphones on the drum kit. Drummers usually feel pretty special for recording sessions because they usually get the most microphones, So they're like, I have like 12, 14 microphones on my instrument, and then a vocalist gets one, of
Right.
course. So that's no fun. So anyway, so that's just a quick little tour of the facility here. Let me swap back around. There we go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I did notice like a lot of foam on the walls.
Yep.
Is that to absorb the sound?
That is absorption, and then you can probably see behind me here without getting too big of a glare. There's also kind of some crazy looking styrofoam on the back wall of the control room, which kind of helps diffuse sound and stuff. So yeah, between the foam and things like that, it's acoustic treatments for the studio that just kind of help control unwanted sounds, bouncing around.
Right.
Scanning waves and stuff like that, yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, but the Artrageous arts community here actually built that studio. We turned it from a garage into a recording studio.
That's right.
And there's something crazy about like there's double walls or something. Is that right?
Yes, there is. It's essentially each room is kind of like a room within a room, and that's what gives us the isolation. So where if I close doors behind me when I'm in the control room here and there's a band out there. I mean, obviously you can get a little dull kind of rumble, but the isolation's pretty good, and so that's that wall within a wall. So there's a wall, and then there's like an air gap in between and another wall, and so just kind of decoupling those walls is what helps that isolation.
Right.
So you guys probably. I was gonna say you guys probably had a lot of fun doing all that drywall stuff. So.
I wasn't part of the drywalling, so yeah. But when you first came into the studio, wasn't there a giant soundboard that was like from Abbey Road Studios?
When we first came in here, business wise, actually, I think that was already gone. But
Okay.
I had actually come up here to do something. This is probably like 2001 or something like that. I just happened to come up here to do something. I was doing a recording thing for my mom, and just I don't even remember why we were using it. But I did come in here, and I remember seeing that big old board. It was basically where the controller is. There was a giant old Quad 8 console that supposedly I guess they had used at Abbey Road at one point. So that's kind of a cool claim to fame there.
Yes. Now, is that Abbey Road board called analog?
Yeah, that would be an analog console or a soundboard, which there's still some around in some of the big studios and stuff, but just with digital audio and things being so much more efficient and cheaper, a lot of those have kind of gone into the junkyards.
Yeah, so that was one of my first questions. Have you noticed, since everything's gone digital, is there like a different mixing quality or sound quality, or is it pretty much equal?
Oh, you could probably get into pretty long, drawn out arguments between engineers. But yeah, ain't technology grand. As far as your question regarding digital versus analog and sound quality and stuff, there's analog had a certain sound because you were recording things to a tape machine, and that was kind of like more of that was actually a physical medium, magnetic tape. And so a lot of people say that analog kind of has a warmer sound. There's just kind of more of a warmth to it, and that digital can be very kind of, it's very detailed, it's very precise, but it's kind of a stale, cold kind of sound
Yeah.
sometimes. So of course the amusing thing is that when digital first came out, everybody was like, "Oh, this is going to be the greatest thing. This is the new wave, blah blah, and all that kind of stuff." And then ever since then, we've been trying to integrate analog gear into the digital medium to try and recapture what we were so quick to get away from.
Right. That's
So
interesting.
yeah, so hence all of those preamps and everything, that the wall of gear I showed you is basically our way of trying to get some of that warmth and that color into a digital sound. I will
Gotcha.
say one other thing real quick. It's just that the digital audio, as far as recording things to digital, editing and things like that, your capabilities of doing things and editing is way more, way easier, and you can get a lot more nuanced about that than you could with just kind of splicing tape and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha. Oh, yeah. It does seem like it would be way easier, even though
mhm,
I know nothing about
right.
recording. So, what interested you about sound and this track that you have taken?
Um, I kind of started getting interested and involved with it in high school. I had a good friend of mine who was kind of into electronics and actually built his own like home theater speakers. And so and it kind of initially started as kind of like a hi-fi thing with audio systems and
Mhm.
just trying to get the most pristine sound I could, listening back to recorded material and stuff. And then from there, it just kind of worked into doing sound for like the swing choir and like drama productions and stuff in high school. And then friends that had bands were like, "Hey, you've done some sound. Would you like to come do sound for us?" So I spent a lot of time doing live sound, doing like
Mhm.
concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
but as
that
far
actually
as
leads
far,
me into my
hmm?
next question. Is there a
Okay.
huge difference between running live sound show like Artrageous and mixing in a studio setting?
Right. Um, yeah, I mean it's kind of sort of, but not really. I mean, obviously, there's many things that are very similar. A lot of the gear and consoles and kind of the ways that we take multiple instruments and make them into just something that people either listen to through a
Mhm.
stereo speaker system or recording to us as a stereo file. But as far as the differences are concerned, the live sound is definitely a lot more spontaneous. I mean, there's a band in front of you and everything's kind of going on. And if something goes haywire, goes wrong, I mean, it's, you got to figure it out and deal
Right.
with it right in the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas studio wise, it's the timeline is lengthened a little bit and you can spend a little more time being real detail and kind of nitpicky and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So me,
Yeah.
me personally, my personality lends more to the kind of the nitpicky, detail oriented kind of
Right.
stuff. So that was kind of why I got out of live sound,
Mhm.
basically as quickly as I could.
Right. Now, where did you go to school for this sound engineering?
I actually went to a recording school in Boston when my wife and I lived out there. This was like 97, 98, somewhere in that vicinity, I think. And it was back then it was called Massachusetts Communications College. It was just kind of like a arts media school. I
Mhm.
think that's since been kind of like taken over by the Arts Institute conglomerate or something. But it was cool. It was just like a little associate's degree program, and really focused on the audio and studio kind of things like that. So that was kind of my introduction, and then basically just learned a lot just on
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 the
the
fly.
job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I know exactly how that is. And so, how many years is that training?
Well, I guess. Oh, you mean how long was the schooling, or?
Yeah.
That was just like a 2-year program.
Okay.
The school, and then the School of Hard Knocks for 18 years after that.
Yeah, for sure. So, is there a lot of like ear training, like when you're listening to things, and how do you train your ear to be able to mix things I know there's different levels, like you have to have the drones here, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something
Sure.
that you do to train your ear?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are active kind of like um, uh, mediums that you can get that actually like will give you here's a 1 kilohertz test tone, here's a 500, so
Mm,
you can kind of test yourself, which is not really the most interesting way to do it. The more interesting way is just getting a piece of music or something with an equalizer, and then just boosting and cutting certain frequencies. But it's so you can kind of work at it, but most of it's just kind of working with it,
mhm.
and getting behind a console that has EQ and things, and just kind of like taking time to kind of learn what all those things do, and what it sounds like when you do that. And obviously, the more you do that, then the more your ear becomes accustomed to that, and then you can kind of start identifying things quicker, basically. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
and then
like
and then also
building your ear muscles.
yeah, and then just obviously listening to. I mean, my parents were both musicians, so I grew up listening to music and stuff, and just so kind of an appreciation of all that kind of gives you an idea of. You had mentioned like level balances of like drums and vocal and kind of stuff, so you just kind of get used to what is the prevailing idea of that, and then you just kind of work towards that, basically. I guess. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. If you were to recommend your top three pieces of gear that for someone to start doing their own mixing, what would you say? Top three.
Well, I mean, the first one would be completely uninteresting because it would be an audio interface, because you have to that which basically takes the analog stuff, which is like microphones, which picks up your voice or a guitar or whatever, and then converts that into something that a computer can handle. I mean, a lot of laptops nowadays, iBooks, iMacs, or whatever, have GarageBand and all that kind of stuff. So that would be one. But just a really nice microphone preamp. I mean, without getting into the long conversation of all the different brands and historically, but in order, if somebody wants to record themselves singing so they can send it to their mom or something like that, an audio interface, a microphone preamp, and then just a good quality vocal microphone.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So my next question, you've mixed a lot of different styles of music.
Mm-hmm.
Is that hard to be so versatile like that? To know what this country music should sound like and this jazz music. Is
Right.
that a difficult thing?
It can be difficult because there are some subtleties. I mean, again, obviously there's certain things that kind of apply across genres of music and stuff. I feel more comfortable in the rock, metal, kind of jazz world with that, and country to a certain extent too. Uh, because that's just what I grew up listening to and I'm very familiar with. So I feel like I have a better handle on that kind of stuff. I don't do a lot in the way of like pop, and like some hip hop and things like that, which um, a lot of times it's more about the sequencing and getting beats and making that kind of stuff. And it's nothing that I don't. It's not like I dislike it, but I just didn't really internalize it as much as I did like rock and stuff. So where
Right.
I understand enough about it to kind of do a decent job. I don't feel comfortable doing a lot of it because I just don't feel like I can do a good do the artist justice in their final product.
Right, right. So how many records, I know they're not called records anymore, have you produced and mixed, do you think?
Oh gosh. Well, it's been about 12 years doing the studio thing now, so I mean probably 30, maybe between 30 and 40 different records. And that I'm thinking like probably like full length records and maybe like 5 song EPs. I've done a lot of things with others like artists, singer songwriters, where they're just coming in doing doing a little single song and just kind of like
Mhm.
throwing that out to the airwaves and stuff.
Mhm.
Done a couple
Cool.
audiobooks, which are not my most favorite things to do.
I didn't know
I'm
that about you.
uh, I'm a music guy, so I like
Yeah.
I like music. It's not quite as interesting sitting there listening to somebody read their own book. But
Yeah.
you do what you got to do work wise. So
Yeah, for sure. Now, did I see a bunch of awards as you were walking around?
there was a few of those. Yeah, we can do a quick little deal with that. So
Yeah.
there is a here in New Mexico. They have something called the New Mexico Music Awards. I don't know if you can really see them that well because they're kind of against the glass too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's New Mexico's version of the Grammys, basically, although not nearly as highfalutin. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Do you have to wear a
artists kind
tuxedo?
of go through. I'm sorry.
Do you have to wear a tuxedo when you go? Because that's, to
Oh,
me, equal
wear a
as
tuxedo?
Grammy.
No, which is good because I don't own a tuxedo, and I'm a jeans kind of guy anyway. So, but anyway, yeah, there's a few awards we've won, probably about, I don't know, 12 or 14 over the last 8 years or something like
Wow.
that. In different
Amazing.
genres. Yeah, some of them you guys know too. We got the Stacy Joy right
Mm-hmm.
there. Yeah, so,
Yes.
but yeah.
Very cool. So lastly, my last question for you is if you could give anyone who's just getting into sound engineering some words of wisdom, what would they be?
Um, Probably try to get involved with as many different people. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on whether we're talking studio or live, but it's always, obviously, it's important to kind of get your information from different sources. I mean, not everybody's
Mm-hmm.
going to have the exact right way to do something, to record or whatever it is, and just pull in as much resources from different places as you can. um, I mean, do I say that finding a school to go to is wildly important? I don't really. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, some people that works really well, but I don't think it's a completely necessary. I mean, if you're really interested in it, be it live sound or record studio stuff, find a place, find a live sound company or a studio near you, and just try to. It's the old work your way up from the bottom kind of thing, and just learn as much as
Collect
possible,
experience.
and yeah, absolutely, and study and find out, find as many resources and read as much as you can about just acoustics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Great advice.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have, and I really appreciate your time because I
Well,
learned so much. And
well,
it was really
but
fun hanging out with you.
next time I have a session, I'm going to bring you in to run the board. Then, if you're all set, Lori.
Perfect.
But
So if
thank you.
anyone wanted to use your amazing skills and expertise, how would they find you?
Well, there is a page here on Facebook, Third Eye Studio. We're in Albuquerque, or like you said, Tejeras, New Mexico. And there's also a website at www.thirdeyerecording.com. Those are the best ways.
Perfect. That was amazing. So if you want to catch this video later or refer back to any of the insightful things that Dave has offered us, you can see this video on our website, artrageousexperience.com, or on our YouTube channel, Artrageous. And you can subscribe while you're there so you don't miss out on any other videos. Dave, thanks a lot. It was so fun.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lori.
Okay. Have a great weekend. Stay
Hey,
safe.
you too. Bye.
Bye.